My name is Ekta Rana actually, and I have over 25 years of experience in learning and development and coaching. Currently, I'm working with Max Healthcare and I'm heading the learning initiatives team for oncology team, basically, for onco surgeons, basically. So, this is a Pan Max team. So, all other units are also under the same purview. So, I work very closely with the onco team, basically. So, all the onco surgeons, everyone. So, it's a learning initiatives, the coaching, mentoring, everything. So, generally, when I joined the organization, I was a bit skeptical because what will you train a doctor, right? Okay, what do you think? Okay, plus I worked with the IT industry for almost 15 to 16 years. I was with Wipro, then I joined HCL, and then from there I moved to healthcare industry. It was a big challenge, but then yes, I wanted to learn something new, and trust me, I've actually learned a lot. Like working very closely with the doctors and the team here, and it's a great learning. And there's a huge scope, right? So healthcare, working along with the doctors, you end up learning a lot, they end up learning a lot. So it's not that they are perfect, even they need coaches, they need the partners who can handhold them and bring them up the leadership skills, basically. So they are very good with the technical skills, they're very good clinicians, but then yes, most of them, they need to go through the learning skills of being a good leader as well. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm happy about it now.
Thank you so much, Ekta. Good to know. Nilesh?
Right. Hi everyone, good evening. This is Nilesh here. Uh, I have probably half of the experience of Ekta. I do not have so much of decades of experience with me. However, I have worked with couple of industries, starting with hospitality. Then I got bored with hospitality. I tried my hands at startup. So I joined startup ecosystem in 2015 and have been hanging around since then. Next 6 years I spent in a healthcare company, and after that, currently I'm working with a company called Dell. It's a digital product success firm. So on day-to-day basis, I deal with designers, techies, product managers, and so on. And I handle end-to-end HR over here. So that's about me.
Great. Welcome, Nilesh. Thank you so much. Prabhakar.
Okay, hello everyone. A very good evening to everyone out there. I'm Prabhakar Mishra and I am from L&T Defense. I look into learning and development and organization excellence. I lead this function at L&T Defense. Uh, okay, I my experience would be a little close to Ekta ma'am, like around 14 years of experience. And initially, when I joined L&T, I joined as an engineer. So I worked in production, I worked in planning and monitoring and control, planning and control. And then, after 9 years of working in production with the people in the business, then I thought I got a chance from one of our leaders in L&T, like Prabhakar, given a chance, would you like to come to people, aspect of the business? So I was always like eager to work, for people. I always was passionate about helping people learn and grow, in their scheme and in a way that impacts organization that they are, associated with. So that is how, after 9 years of working in production, I thought, let us just go to the people part of, it. And then I'm into learning and development at L&T Defense. So yeah, that is what that's about me.
Yeah, and you missed out the important part, one more important point. So Prabhakar is a well-known author also. He writes books
Oh,
and he has written one good book. It's become quite popular. And one another common ground between me and Prabhakar, we are from the same college, of course,
Yeah, yeah,
different batches.
yeah. Thank you, Sid, for that introduction. I love that part of my introduction, like being an author. So thank you for that, kind introduction.
Thank you. Suresh, we would like to hear from you now.
Yeah, thanks, Sid, and good evening to all. My name is Suresh, and I bring in almost about 20 to 25 years of experience. I've been in the field of IT. I've been an SAP person. Maybe Ekta, I've actually worked with Wipro for quite some time,
yeah.
and then I've also worked with Accenture and TCS. And incidentally, the last probably last 6 months, I would say I've been part of, I've kind of taken a break from corporate life, and then I've been working as professor of practice at Presidency University here, and it's a huge change management, believe it. But it's been a great experience. I mean, working with students and trying to share your industry experience, and the kind of response that you get from student community is amazing. I'm enjoying that. But then it's been a huge change management from me for me, because coming from a corporate world where you are, you only know deadlines. You don't know how to live your life, but it's only about deadlines. But yeah, I mean, it's been a great experience so far, working with students, and then of course with university people, a lot of professors here who've got immense experience in the field of academics and things like that. So I teach corporate management, corporate strategy here at Presidency College. Yeah, that's been my experience.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Suresh. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So, as all of you have noticed, we have a very diverse set of panelists here from different industries with different kinds of backgrounds, have been there, done that, worked in the industry, then came into academia, and so on. So, we would definitely want to hear from each of you your perspectives on this very important topic, which has been obviously discussed in various forums, but each person brings in his own special perspective, and that's going to add tremendous value. So skilling, reskilling, upskilling, that's what we are going to discuss. We also want to hear from you about the impact of technology in skill development, the kind of ROIs that we see, and how do we measure these ROIs, and how this has changed. What's the trend been in the last few years in learning and development? So these are the things that we want to hear. So first things first, we would like to hear from you about how do you define skilling or reskilling or upskilling within your own domains or industries. So we can start off with Ekta and then move in the same order.
Uh, Sir, I would say reskilling and upskilling is a very important part of any professional who's there, whether it be IT or healthcare or any other industry, right? Because the way things are changing, they're changing
Hmm.
for good. And the way things are changing, it's very important for them to adapt it. Yes, how they do it and what kind of time frame we have for them is something which has to be defined organization wise, right? Many organizations have a option wherein you can reskill or upskill an employee after 18 months that the employee has worked in one particular department, right? And then they get an option of reskilling them and getting them into a new project, or if they're interested to stay back, maybe upskill them into a new technology and start make them happy. And it's a way of, actually, frankly speaking, if I say, if I have to retain an employee in current scenario where the market is so open, it's very important to be there for them, make sure that they are there in the industry and they are upgraded as per the current norms which are there, right? If we don't do that, we are going to lose the employees. So that's the reason I said that if we are talking about upskilling and reskilling of employees, it becomes important from the point of view, from the organization's point of view, it becomes very important from a personal employee's point of view as well, right? So I think that's very important. It's very important each and every organization as such.
Hmm. So great. I'll take that point to Nilesh. So Nilesh, what about the impact on attrition? Ekta said, if you don't train people or if you don't train people, people may leave. There's also another school of thought. If you train people too much, they may still leave. So what about that? And you come from a very high attrition industry as well, right?
So the industry and the domain that I am in, I feel the cross skilling is way more important than the reskilling and the
Hmm.
upskilling. Because I in my domain, we deal with people who are from design background, product background, technology background, right?
Hmm.
And what Ekta mentioned is absolutely true. Because if you do not train people to get adapted with the new challenges, probably either they would not remain an asset for the organization for the longer period, or they would find something else which is in the best of their interest, right? So here it's extremely important that an organization understand what are the personal aspirations of an employee. Right? I
Hmm.
might be a UX designer today, but I would not want to remain a UX designer forever. I probably would want to become a product manager in the times to come, or I might want to become a UI designer, right? Which is, so UX are two entirely different skill set, right? So it's important that we understand what are their career aspirations and align their learning goal with how the business objective has been defined, right? And then enable them those with those learning ammunition. So if I want to become a product manager, let's say 6 months down the line, probably I would be enabled by the organization, by my company, for a digital online course. I would assign a mentor who would basically walk me through a transition phase, and 6 months down the line I have transitioned from UX designer to a product manager, right? So it's extremely crucial. And I second to what Ekta mentioned, that if we do not focus on this, eventually we'll lose, because there's someone out there who is looking for this talent and willing to augment their existing skill set.
Okay, so just to answer or take that question further, so you said you will be reskilling people. A UX designer may not want to remain a UX designer. You reskill him and put him into something else where he aspires to get into. But into in industries which see revolving doors, people keep coming and going. The
Mhm.
kind of investment that you do in reskilling an
Mhm.
employee, do
Mhm.
you think the tenures are that long enough that you see a return on investment and the person staying back and giving you those returns in another department? Is that happening?
Yes, so in our case, it has happened. We have a couple of people who have been with us for about 2 to 4 years now. They started out as an intern, then transition into becoming from UX associate to UX designer to UI
Hmm.
designer, then product manager, then design lead. Now they are a couple of them are the product leads.
Hmm.
So when you invest in the right people, definitely they stay. But of course, there's a larger chunk of people who would leave, and I think as an organization, would not be really bothered about it, because you know that your 20% of the core team is stable and rest is business as usual.
Okay, great. So Pareto's principle, 80-20. Prabhakar, would you like to add something there?
Yeah, basically, to be very specific, if I can give you a case in our industry, like identity defense I come from, there have been various instances wherein people from a particular function has been moved to other function. It can be the choice of the individual or the business need. So what we have observed that yes, the person when he puts his interest to go to the different department or different segment that he is interested in, sometimes the ability, sometimes the willingness of the same person is there. Okay, like there's a typical case, a design engineer, he wanted to shift to IT and digitalization. So he was doing pretty well in design, but then with the advanced technology and all, he was very much tech savvy. So he put this interest to the management, to the senior leadership. Can I just move to IT domain? So what we did, we ensured that he's reskilling to the required level is done, and he was also very keen to reskill in the IT tools and various technology that we have, and we have a good case, and there are several examples like this in our company. So basically, two things which I would just want to highlight. Reskilling is again something like when you want to acquire a new set of skills for venturing into a different role. It can be a existing role in some different dimension, different company, or different business vertical, or it can be even the new role that does not exist today, maybe the future role which is going to come up, and you're learning that future technology, and then you just get ready for the future. So that is how we have a take on reskilling. Upskilling is like, you even if you don't want to move into another role or another job, you need to upskill yourself to make you do better at the things that you are already doing. Like suppose there can be a case of planning engineer where he has to give a lot of reports. So he's very much acquainted with MS Project or Excel. But then suppose some Power BI, some data visualization tool, Power BI came, or Google Data Studio comes. He learns Power BI, which is a visualization tool, and then now his work becomes easy. The reporting part is like has become very easy.
It's
So that
easier.
is how he has upskilled himself to do his existing work in a much more efficient and effective way.
Right. Thank you so much. Let me take that to Suresh. Suresh, you have seen both the parts. You've seen the corporate world and you're also seeing academia now.
Yeah.
Given that technology is so evolving, changing day by day, and obviously we're also seeing so much volatility in the markets as well. Um and as Prabhakar, Nilesh, and Ekta already mentioned, so we have to keep upskilling, reskilling people on different newer processes, newer technologies. So, where do you think academia is going to play a role if whatever I've learned 2 years ago in the college is irrelevant today? So, what's the role of academia, or what's the use of doing, let's say, a undergraduate degree and a postgraduate degree if it is going to become redundant in a couple of years?
See, my perspective, Sid, is that I think it's really important for academia to kind of collaborate or partner with industry experts, right? That's number one.
Hmm.
Second is, I think it's all the more important that that collaboration between industry, you know, for example, I can probably give you an example where currently we are working with one of the big five consulting companies in the world, where we are taking their suggestions and advice to design our course curriculum, right? Last year, what happened was we had this instance again. I could probably go ahead and then name this company KPMG, where they had come to our college for hiring some students, but unfortunately, the success rate was not as big as we expected. But then we try and we tried to analyze, introspect, and then see what went wrong. And then we actually went back to KPMG and then asked them what was the problem with our students, right? And then they came back to us saying that they were not too aware of the digital skill sets. They were not aware of about Python. They were not about, I mean, they were not, they were falling short on some soft skills like communication, collaboration, and things like that. And then they were also kind of wanting to, support us by saying that they're willing to partner with us in designing a course curriculum where it is kind of up to industry standards or where we have industry best practices and so on and so forth, right? So my perspective definitely is the industry collaboration that is really, really important. That's number one. The other part that I would like to say is that this is a fantastic development that has happened in the academia, right? In the world of academia, where UGC has mandated universities where they can actually, go ahead and then hire industry experts. Unlike previously, where they had, people had to have a PhD degree, right? And then they had to have some kind of a teaching experience to actually be part of academia. But now things have changed. The universities are also open to look at industry experts who spend 20, 25 years in the industry. And then the university is also offering, kind of full-time, part-time positions. In fact, I have kind of joined as a professor of practice, right, where I can share my industry experience, real-time solutions. And then I've actually seen a world of difference from, I'm not, I mean, due respect to all the professors, but then, I've kind of had fantastic interaction with students. I mean, the moment, I go to a class and tell them about, some kind of a challenge, or how do you handle real-time situations, and how do you give solutions? Everyone's eyes and ears are kind of up, right? And there's a fantastic development that is out of the world experience. And then I'm glad that this development has happened, and then the UGC has allowed universities to hire people like us to be part of academia, right? So that's the second part. The other third part is, again, coming back, I mean, if I have to reflect back on my IT experience when I was working with Accenture, I think this upskilling and reskilling goes together. And unfortunately, we are in a state where the client also expects the company to have their consultants or the associates to have those kind of digital skill sets. That's number one. So whether we like it or not, it is imperative on the associates, on the IT services company to have those kind of skill sets, to have those kind of people to kind of do that kind of a delivery. That's number one. Second thing is also to kind of attrition and things like that. You also, the candidate who are working in a digital transformation project, he is forced to learn Python, He needs to get into that. Otherwise, because we have so much of demand here that if he's not able to satisfy those requirements, we have people in the background who can actually say, hey, I can do this much better than this particular candidate. So it's kind of a force from the customer side, and the the candidates from the industry are also forced to make sure that he's on par with the customer's expectations, and this has to be delivered. So it's kind of win-win for both. So that's my take, Sid.
So I would
Great.
like to add one more point here. I remember uh, 1 year back when I was in HCL, there was a project which came in wherein we wanted around 200 cloud trained resources, right? Now, 200 cloud trained resources, getting from the market, getting them interviewed, hiring them, they have their own notice period and everything would have taken us a long time, more than 6 months or so. And this project was
Yeah.
coming within 2 months. So, the best part, what we could do is we actually analyzed and saw the employees who were ready to get retrained, who were interested to get retrained and get into the cloud, or the ones who were ready, who had completed 18 months of their period and they were okay to move out of a particular project that they were working on at that point of time. So that's how we had a bulk of 200 employees whom we actually trained on cloud and got them deployed in a new project. Now, yes, if we say that we are going to, there's going to be attrition, we will have attrition, which is absolutely fine, which is taken by any organization. But then, yes, at least at that point of time, when a new project is coming, you have an employee base which can be immediately trained and deployed in a new project, right? So, I think that is one thing which helps.
Great. So, Suresh, just taking your point forward, you mentioned about the industry academia collaboration, which seems to be working well. So, we always have this habit of ranting about the gap between what the industry wants and what the academia or colleges are providing in terms of resources or manpower. So, is that gap getting reduced, or is it increasing, or is it status quo?
No, I think it's not. I mean, I'm honestly speaking, with my experience in the last 6 months, I'm not a great expert to probably talk about it. But whatever whatever time that I've spent in academia, I feel that it's not. I mean, it's not a great change that has happened. But then I think slowly that change is happening. It's moving towards that, right? That's number one. Second is. Uh, we again I don't want to talk about too much about presidency because I'm not trying to sell presidency here, right? But then what I have actually seen here in the last 6 months is that one is of course the collaboration with one of the big fives, that's the KPMG guys. The second part is what we're trying to do to address the skill gap issue and industry expectations, what we have been continuously doing, and then we've been fairly successful in that part, is that we constantly have industry experts, right? In fact, we have actually given seat to KPMG guys, right? They are permanent, they're sort of a permanent faculty here. In fact, they have certain slots in a week. I think they get about 3 or 4 slots. KPMG guys, they actually go to the class and then talk about industry best practices. They talk about what is the expectations from students. They talk about communication skills. What are they expecting? In fact, they are the same guys who actually at the end of the year, they identify candidates and then hire good lot of people from the college, right? So it's kind of leaking the kind of leaking the question paper straight away, right? That's that's the second part. And then we also have a lot of integration, lot of collaboration with industry experts where they come and conduct sessions, conduct workshops with our students. And that's the reason why I'm saying that we have had recent placement that has happened, and then compared to what it was last year and the results that we are seeing at this point in time, huge difference, huge. And this collaboration actually has really worked wonders for university like presidency. And I'm sure this is a tried and tested formula, Sid. If industries are open to this kind of collaborative activities, I'm sure it's a win-win situation for both, because we are directly hearing from the horse's mouth when we have industry experts coming and talking taking sessions, taking workshops, and that's a great initiative, right? So I don't see a great change, but things are, I think, moving in the right direction. I think universities are open to having industry experts, and at the same time, the other thing is, as I started my conversation saying that in corporate world, pardon me, Nilesh, Prabhakar, and Ekta, the corporate world is like you always work on deadlines. You'll forget your life. You will never talk about lifeline, right? It's only deadlines. And I sincerely, I felt that I'm not leading my life here. And it was only deadlines, and I was dead actually. And I thought that these not the these and I'm 51 years, and then I've spent good amount of time in being in the corporate world. I was in different parts of the world and then worked for large companies. But then I said, enough is enough. That is the time I wanted to kind of see how I can, contribute my industry experience, my skill sets, my learnings. But then I didn't have a platform. And then suddenly this happened. And then presidency said, hey, why don't you come and join us as an industry expert? We will give you a full-time position. And then suddenly it actually opened up my mind, hey, why not? Right. And then I joined this college. And then believe it or not, the students' response is so good. And you actually see sparkle in students when I enter the class, and then they know that there is some learning that would come out. I'm not bragging about myself, but I'm sure this will happen for all industry experts if you're planning to join academia. But then all I'm trying to say is that um, we are moving towards that great collaboration, great partnership between industries and academia. I think that is going to only improve going forward. But that drastic change management has not happened yet. I think we are heading in the right direction in a small way.
Great to hear your perspective, Suresh. I can relate to that because I mentor several B school students. And just to talk about your presidency point, I don't think you have to market presidency because it's very well known, doing a great job. I've known presidency for a long time.
Sure.
Great. Yes, Nilesh, you want to add on something?
Right. So while we are talking about industry collaboration with the academia, uh, I just want to put my perspective out here. Recently, I was part of a couple of colleges as an evaluator of the industrial internship presentations, etc. And I feel there's a huge gap between what professors understand how industry function and how actually it functions. Unfortunately, unlike Suresh, he brings a lot of industry experience. Then he got into academia. Majority of the professors in colleges do not have that kind of exposure. They move into academia pretty early, and then they distance themselves from the industry because that was precisely the reason they got into academia, right? And that's why, because the colleges are not able to upskill their existing staff, that's why they need industry collaboration, and then they bring in the experts like Suresh and other folks that, okay, you fill in the gap for what our professors are not able to. So when you're talking about upskilling, I think it's very important that the colleges enable the full-time faculty go out, have some industry collaboration, be it as part of the research partner or anything else, but have an active presence in the industry. Because the kind of guidance they gave the students, I wouldn't name the college, but the kind of guidance which came out during their presentations were horrible, and it was pretty much clear that they are probably light years behind when it comes to where industry is going, technology is going.
Absolutely.
Great. So moving on to the applications of technology uh, in facilitating, using, applying learnings, or even picking up new skill sets. How do you think in your respective industries, organizations, you are using technology, one, to facilitate trainings, and two, obviously, to ensure that these trainings are effective, efficient, cost effective as well. So I would like to hear from Prabhakar first.
Yeah, I think technology is playing a very crucial role in upskilling and reskilling, because we can witness ultra fast technology advancement and automation are indeed you know uh, driving a profound need for reskilling and upskilling within industries and organizations. That's why, it makes me say that, it's not the ability to change that would count, but rather how fast you can, change is going to count. You know, uh, so first and foremost, let me put, automation and technology are, transforming the nature of work. Like the jobs that were, once done manually are being automated now. So you need to train segments of employees on using automated systems, effectively. And also, since work are getting automated, you need to train those employees whose work are getting automated on some new set of skills, and they need to transition into a new way of doing work, new way of the whole scheme. So one more thing that I want to add is the skill set required in the workforce keeps on evolving, because of the fast pace of the ever changing world. So for example, artificial intelligence to data analytics to digitalization process, they require employees to have different skill set than what was needed in the past. So that means that training and development programs need to be aligned to these advancements. So precisely what, we want to focus on, these advancements uh, are going to impact a lot to one department, which is, HR, and which deals with the learning and development part of the people. Because and for example, today is the world of, where you have a lot of data driven decisions that you are going to take. So you need to train your employees to take informed decisions basis the data, which requires a fundamental understanding of data analysis and interpretation to almost all the department. It can be HR, it can be planning, it can be marketing, sales. So yeah, I totally, in nutshell, if I see the need for, reskilling and upskilling has never been more critical. We are not just responsible for employee development, but we are also responsible for ensuring that our organization remains competitive and resilient in the face of, technological disruptions. So that requires continuous learning and skill development, and that is what we should focus on. So that is my take on your question, Sid.
Sure. Uh, so although we keep talking about e-learning and how e-learning has arrived
Huh.
and how we should be using e-learning platforms to upskill people, uh, you have seen these platforms like Udemy or
Yeah,
Coursera.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
very easy to access, very cost
Yes, yes,
effective,
yes.
but the dropout rates are alarmingly high. So
See,
people pick up several courses, but they drop out at the same velocity.
yeah, so let me just comment on this. See, what we have done, like in our L&T Defense, we have our online platform. We call it ATL Next, and then again we have tie up with Coursera and Persevere. A lot of modules are available. Now, the
Mm.
best part we do, so that, we have, less number of dropouts, is that uh, these platforms are again AI based. So the AI will give you a recommendation. Okay, what are the skill set that you need to, be acquiring basis your current role, and basis the level of proficiency that you already have. So what these modules would basically do, they would assess you on a particular, skill set, and basis how you perform in that assessment, they would offer you a module that you want to undertake. So this is something that, employee this is something that keeps employee engaged. Okay, this is the recommendation from me. Okay, so let me learn, some new module which AI is recommending for me. And if I learn this, I will be, from level 1 to level 2. That is one way to keep employees engaged. Second thing which we also promote is like gamification in some of the, platforms, where like, okay, you keep them engaged by turning the learning into some form of a game. So that also encourages participation as well as completion. Okay, suppose if not, if somebody from us is like very much addicted to game, they would be like, okay, nahi, mujhe to ye khatam karna hi hai. So that is how, and also on certain, platforms, communication channel, we also display leaderboards to these employees. Okay, who is, at what score, at what number of hours, or how many numbers of, trainings that he has required, he or she has required. So these are some of the ways in which, we can keep employees engaged and, enthusiastic about skilling and reskilling.
Sure. Ekta, what do you feel? What are those tools that you have been deploying so that you can deliver these training programs better? Do people still feel the need for face-to-face sessions for training, or you're able to do it online now and you're able to scale up much better? How is it?
Sid, I would agree to what Prabhakar is saying because many times we have seen that there is time constraint, right?
Hmm.
Especially when you are in an organization like healthcare, you
Hmm.
will never have 10 doctors or 10 coordinators or 10 NPs at the same time available. They will never be available. Right. So in such a scenario, you have to have a module in place wherein you say that, okay, I will train as per your requirement. And
Mhm.
what we have seen is that gamification, yes, certainly it does help, because there are a lot of modules we have made in such a manner that even if they go back home, they can sit down at least 1 hour. If they take not to take the training program, they go through it properly and they clear the training program. Similarly, there are a lot of e-learning programs which are there, and we do have pre-assessment and post-assessment. So the modules that we are making now is that, yes, we are trying to make it more user friendly that they are able to complete, but yes, we need to track them. We have to be after them. We need to track them. We need to understand that, okay, if the particular employee is supposed to complete 2 or 3 training programs in a month, they do it, and we don't elaborate the training program. In a training program like behavioral skills, it's a 1.5 hour training program, and we do it in a week, right? Or we do it early morning or late evening. We will do it online. So there are a lot
Mhm.
of ways where we have to jingle and mingle things. So that is one thing which is there. And yes, as you said, that I will take my example. Okay, if I wanted to learn advanced Excel, and actually got into Udemy and I registered myself. And because I was interested and I knew that I really want to upgrade myself, I learned the skill. Similarly, it goes for all the employees. If in case like if they're really really interested, they will do it. But many times it happens that you have to have a carrot and a stick, and then make them do it. So that is something I think.
Sure. So, what are those metrics that should be used or can be used to evaluate progress or benefits from the training program? Any views from anybody?
Yeah, can I?
Yeah,
Um,
sure, please.
See, measuring ROI, for skilling
Part of the
programs in
L&D, we
organizations.
have to do that.
Yeah, it's part of L&D, but then basically it can be very, very challenging because see, there are multiple variables involved that contribute to the say top line or bottom line of a firm. But however, there can be some approaches for calculating ROI. Let me just share some of them. See, first of all, like for any training program or any skilling program that you are going to launch, you should have a clear objective. Like, okay, uh, what is your specific goal? Why you want to just invest in this particular training? So you should have a clear business goal. Okay, okay, with this technology, I'm going to achieve from say level A to level A+1. Yeah. Second thing is like after the the training program of the employee, apart from the pre and post test which we take for from the employees, we should go to managers of those employees after say it can be 60 days, it can be 40 days, 1 month. Okay, now you tell me your team had undergone these particular skilling program. How is their performance in terms of their implementation of learning on the job? So that can be also like if managers give feedback like, okay, say again the matrices you can decide 5 out of 5 or 4 out of 5. So where is something where we could again do something better. So that is point number 2. Second thing is like I think is you can also have a metrics wherein like managers or departments start monitoring. Okay, what is the project success rate or of the individual who has come from the training program. Say suppose earlier he used to do some part in say some part of the work in say this much time. Now is the time, has the time reduced, has the errors come down in the work that he was doing, how is the quality of work, how is the what is the project success rate. So I think these are the you can use combination of these matrices, and again it can again vary basis the context that you have for the concern set of individuals or the particular business function that you want to measure ROI for.
Sure.
Yeah, so that is
Suresh, you
my
wanted
take.
to say something, right?
Yeah.
Suresh, you wanted to say something?
yeah, actually, I completely agree with Ekta as well as Prabhakar. And I mean, when I was working with Accenture, I think what we used to do was of course, digital transformation, digital skill sets was a big theme. And I think it's still there even now, right? So what we used to do was basically, force the associate or the consultant to learn the new skill set and his performance used to be evaluated through his performance appraisal. So that means that whatever training programs that he used to conduct, unless and until he finishes that successfully, he's going to be, he's going to be rated in a different way during his performance appraisal. That's number one. Second is, again, this can be used, we used to use this as a motivational technique, because I'm sure we all agree to the fact that money can motivate only to a certain level, right? But then if you go to the candidate and say that, hey, you know what, we've given you enough of increment, we have given you enough of promotion and things like that. But then if you go and give the carrot of saying that I'm going to give you additional training in Python, additional training in digital transformation and things like that, I think there is his eyes and ears will really go up, believe it or not, right? That's a motivational technique that we can use. That's the second part. The third part is, I think I think I started my conversation talking about a win-win situation for both the associate and the customer as well, right? And then we at Accenture, we've been very successful using this model where, you know, digital transformation was the in thing, was the theme, whether the candidate likes it or not, irrespective of the cadre, of the hierarchy, right from a project director, right from project manager, and right from a consultant level, everyone was forced to learn digital skill sets, right? And then, you believe it or not, said, I think when I looked at the last revenue, total revenue of Accenture, as well as TCS, I also worked with TCS, close to about, I think there was close to about $2 billion was revenue was generated out of the digital transformation projects that used to get delivered. Right now, if you are talking about a scale of $2 billion that was being delivered, obviously you need to work backwards, right? You need to have the skill sets. You need to have the delivery capability using digital transformation techniques to deliver those kind of projects. So left, right, and center, we use this training activity, irrespective of the cadre, irrespective of the hierarchy, that you like it or not, you are supposed to learn this. And then that has actually kind of completely transformed the project deliverables, at least in digital transformation, I would say. And that's huge success. It's a win-win. That's why I said it's a win-win situation for both the consultants, for the organization, for the customer as well.
Right. I think I liked your point about money making an impact up to a certain point. And beyond that, I think it's about upskilling. Also, one reason a smart guy would realize that upskilling is going to help him in future and make more money.
Absolutely.
So I think that's a great point. So would anyone like to add on? Nilesh, Ekta?
See, in our case at Zen, when Suresh was talking about attaching the training with the performance appraisal, I could resonate because that's what we have been doing as a core practice of enabling learning. So just to quote an example, see, as a product, anyone can become a product manager as long as you understand if you have that business acumen, and how to drive business through a product. But then there are supplementary skill set. If you have, you can probably deliver 10x. For example, if you know what exactly user experience is and what user experience designer do, if you know basics of coding, you can optimize techies time. You can well estimate how much amount of time it's going to take to deliver certain kind of let's say landing pages or screens, etc. So we realized there's a gap, and we mandatorily enabled our product managers to go through a foundation course of user experience design through, I think, Google. And they had to take this training, and it was part of their performance evaluation. And as a process, now every quarter when we have a performance evaluation, we discuss their personal goals, personal aspiration, which are directly linked to business objective, and we enable take those training sessions, and there are weightages attached to it. So I think it's important. Sometimes you consider will, sometimes you have to force in the best interest of both the parties.
Right.
Great. So Nilesh, what about the line between soft skills and hard skills. Till now, we have been talking about largely technical training. We have been talking about
Yeah.
Python. Okay, so what about soft skills? What role does it play? Do you think it is as important as a hard skill now? And we should stop calling it a soft skill altogether.
Well, I think everyone knows that your success depends. 80% of your success depends on your soft skills. However, I feel at different stages of your career, different kind of skill set play a crucial role. So when you are in an IC role in the initial few years of your career, your hard skills, your core technical skills would be really, really crucial because you have to prove your metal that what you are doing, you are really, really good at it. Then slowly you will transition into a team management role, and that's where your soft skills would come really, really handy, and that's when you need to get the work done from a lot of people. You have to get the best out of other people. So I think it's a different stage of your career where the kind of skill set would play a different role. To summarize what I said, at initial 4 5 years of your career when you are into IC role, probably hard skills are more important. And when you transition into a team management role, then soft skills play a more crucial role.
So let me put this question to others as well. So it's very difficult to develop soft skills at a certain age. So it's very easy if you start early, start in school itself. But we have noticed that in school, college, university, the entire focus is on core academics and marks and results and learning technical skills, going to a computer class to learn coding and so on. But soft skills are neglected. And Nilesh, as he rightly said, at a certain age, when you become a team leader or a manager, and that's the time the manager also wakes up and the organization also wakes up that this manager requires better soft skills and better ways to communicate and collaborate with people. And EQ becomes more important than IQ that time. So isn't it better to start off early? Because the brain wiring, it's very difficult to mold at a specific, at an age beyond, let's say, 35 or 40. So Suresh or Prabhakar, anyone or Ekta.
So, uh, Sid, I would say that your point that you are trying to say is that soft skill is important, or behavioral skills is important, or leadership skill is important. Frankly speaking, that's the reason I'm here. Okay, because when I joined this organization, my boss, who's the chairman of oncology, okay, his the only requirement was that Ekta, I want a person who has empathy and who teaches empathy to my team. That was his requirement. He said, I
Hmm.
have very good doctors, but I want you to teach them empathy. Now, when he said that, the entire focus was on that you need to realize that you are connecting with the patients or you're connecting with the caregivers who are emotionally drained out, right? So that's the time when you have to have this emotional bond with all of them. Now, you cannot say that I'm the best doctor in India or in maths, but however, I cannot connect emotionally with the patient or the caregivers or the family members. And it's not only about doctors, it's about coordinators, it's about the entire team which is working in this organization. From the gatekeeper till the NP to even the cleaner who is there, all of them are taught empathy. So I think that is something which is very important. And yes, it has to be inbuilt, but unluckily, it's not there. So that's the reason why like people like me who are there, because I need to actually at times sit down and take the classes once a week. I sit down with all of them, literally all of them, all the coordinators, all of them, and I have to make them realize that there is a bond which has to be built. There's a doctor patient bond which is there. It's not only about the doctor, it's about the other team members also who are in connect. So it is how you build the bond, it's how you connect with them, it's how the empathy is built. That is something which is very important.
Sure. Suresh, do you think this should start early because the brain plasticity is much higher when the person is younger? So start off in college itself or school, earlier the better. What are your views?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, yeah, I completely agree with all the panelists. It's also important because as professors, as teachers, I think we have a larger role to play here. Apart from parents, right? I think the next important person in a student's life is the teachers, right? And then they learn a lot of, behavioral skills, leadership skills, communication skills from their parents. And the next person is the teacher, right? So it is, I think as teachers, I think it's all the more important that we will have to identify the strengths and weaknesses of that particular student. In this particular case, if we are talking about communication skills, I think it's really important that we will have to have that, conversation with that person, right? Probably, I mean, in my MBA programs, generally, we've got this concept called as mentor-mentee, right? Uh, where a professor will be the mentor, and then we identify candidates who are poor in communication skills. Maybe he's not interactive, he's not collaborative, he doesn't cooperate, he doesn't open up, and things like that. So all those behavioral skill sets are identified, and then what we tend to do is we actually spend good amount of time one-on-one with those individuals, and then tell them about, you have your great strengths. That's actually good. You can take on the world with those skills as strengths. But then the important thing is there are certain weaknesses which you need to kind of improve, maybe communication skills. And then it's really important to share this feedback with students, because students feel that they are good, right? It's important for them, for us to kind of share this constant feedback with them. If a communication skill, or if he's lagging on certain soft skills, we will have to talk to them. And then if need be, talk to our university, our leadership within the university, and then see if we can arrange some kind of communication programs, some kind of soft skills programs, and then see if we can improvise those those skill sets. That's number one. Second is, I'm sure there are a lot of institutes today, outside the universities, where they train people on soft skills programs, soft skills, improving the soft skills and things like that. So, but my perspective is, I think we as professors has a larger role to play. We have to do that heavy lifting. As teachers, I think we will fail the students if we are not able to give that constant feedback to the candidate on what his strengths are and what his weaknesses are. And then and the third part is, we coming from the industry, we know, and I completely agree with Nilesh' point of, I completely, I forgot about it, but then I was trying to, I think it was about, what was that point, Nilesh?
It
Sorry.
was importance of soft skills or hard skills at different stages per year.
Absolutely. I think today, when you're talking about digital skill sets, digital transformation, and things like that, even entry level associate, is supposed to, directly interface with the customer, right? Although he may be a coder or a programmer or so on and so forth. But then, if he has to be successful, he needs to also interface with the customer, directly talk to the customer, understand what his pain points are, and then also write a very good mail to his team member, saying that this is what we need to do, and so on and so forth. So I think that the line, the line is kind of getting blurred, right, between soft skills and hard skills. Because today, if you are successful, if you need to be successful, you have to, have that, decent communication skills, however technically sound that person is, right? And that's a formula for success. Because I have actually seen from industry, a lot of hardcore technical solid guys, technically sound, but then they are not able to communicate well. They fall behind. If performance appraisal manager comes and says you are great in technical skills, but then you are not able to interface with the customer, we have not got a good feedback from the customer, so he is falling back. But then, if he is able to kind of scale up on his soft skills, and then of course if technical skills are good enough, I think is a formula for success.
Brilliant. So we have some questions in the chat. So before we get there, one last question for the panelists, and a favorite question in many of the discussions. Uh, what support or initiatives do you think the government should take so that we have better skilled people in the workforce, and the need to keep upskilling and reskilling or invest loads of money later on reduces over a period of time? Anyone?
Can I?
Please.
Yeah. So see, actually, there are several policies which are existing, and government can build onto it. Like some of the things which I can relate is like Skill India initiative, right, by Government of India, and it's a flagship program that aims to provide skill training to vast number of Indian youth. It includes various schemes and programs to enhance their employability, and that opens the door for organizations like us, and even for the people who can just if they are interested in skilling themselves. If organizations wants to take certain help, or collaborate with these government bodies, it's an open platform. It's an open door for collaboration. Similarly, we have something like NSDC, which is National Skill Development Corporation, which is again a public-private partnership organization that facilitates skill development in India. So again, it works in various industry sectors. So again, we HR or any industry who want to leverage on their training of their workforce, training of the people who are actually working on the shop floor or production site. We can leverage from these initiatives of Government of India. Similarly, Make in India initiative is something which has given a push to many sectors in India, because now, with government, emphasizing on indigenous product and making everything in India, that gives you an ample opportunity to, get into the business and get into the skilling of people as well. Because if you have to start making things in India, you have to start making people ready for making things in India. Yeah, that is also one thing. And again, Digital India program is something that again synchronizes with skilling or reskilling efforts of the organizations. So I think, in a nutshell, yeah, the government is doing quite a bit for which is shaping the reskilling and upskilling scene in India. And yeah, something more can be done with collaboration between government bodies and the organization. I think that is my take on that.
Thank you. Yes, Ekta.
I feel we need to make some change in the education system. Frankly speaking, the way we educate our kids, if you're saying that kids should learn those basic soft skills, communication skills, I think they should come from the very beginning. We overload our kids with only education, right? And maybe there are topics which they will never ever use in their life. But these are the skills that if they have, they're going to use their entire life, right? So I think this is something which needs to get changed. We cannot overload our kids only with books. We need to teach them the basic skills of life as well.
I think that's the point I had made some time back to Suresh, saying that whatever we are learning, it's ever changing. So what's the
Absolutely.
use of studying those subjects which become redundant anyway in 2 years?
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
absolutely, Sid, absolutely. And in fact, most of my conversations when I take lecture, it is not about the topic. It's more about, how you handle problems in a real time environment, right? I use real time case studies, right? And I always keep talking to students that this is a laboratory for you. You can actually experiment, and you need to fail here. You can fail, right? And we have kind of made education so stringent, so disciplined that
Yes.
we've forgotten that we have a creative mind, right? And that's the reason I feel that Indians are lagging behind. We are kind of, we just that like Goda. And these is the syllabus,
I
these are the
agree.
topics that you need to learn. And this, you write exam, you get the certificate, period. That is over, right? But how many times have professors have told students that you can fail here, make mistakes here, do experimentation here. MBA is a laboratory for you. Try and do a lot of things. And then we are there to handhold you. We are there to mentor you. That's all absolutely fine. But I feel that as teachers, I think we need to kind of scale up more than expecting more from students. I think we have a larger role to play as professors, right? As teachers. And yeah, that's my take.
I think we should have crisper modules going forward rather than 2 year programs, 3 year programs, and 4 year degrees. So it's going to become shorter, quicker, just like our online programs. Learn something in
Absolutely.
6 months, start working on it, rather
Right.
than study for 6 years and 5 years, and which becomes redundant by the time you are even in the job market.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Right. Sure. So let's go to the questions in the chat box. Uh, so Vidya, this is asking a question. This is for Ekta. Curious to know what are the methods to teach empathy across organizations, irrespective of positions or levels. Can you throw some light on the methods that you have adopted to teach empathy?
Right. So, Vidya, frankly speaking, that's what I said, that it's very difficult to teach them empathy. And that was one problem area which is there in our organization, rather than every organization. Even in IT sector, there's a major problem because there I think people have become like machines. Okay, you only teach them technical skills. No one actually teaches them the soft skill or the way you need to connect with your team building. uh, so you need a person who is there to teach them empathy, and you really have to teach them. And across levels, yes, you have to teach them, because I actually go ahead and many a times I set an example with them, right? I will go to a senior doctor and I actually go and request him that, sir, this is the feedback that I've got from the patient or the caregiver. Now we need to change. And I many a times I take it negatively, because naturally coming from a L&D person or a HR person, but then they have to take it. I go with the scorecard, I go with the different feedbacks that I've got. And frankly speaking, that's how it is. You have to mellow them down. It's very important to mellow them down. It's very difficult to teach them. It's been quite some time, but then yes, I think it's been 1 year since I've been in this organization, and today I feel that I have been able to mellow down few people who were really hyper. No? So you have to do it. You have to do it. You have to show them the different prospects. Maybe you will have to show them that if you are okay, if you behave in a certain manner, you will have more people who will connect with you, right? And frankly speaking, in our organization, it is more about people connect. It is more about how you connect with the outside world, with your internal team members. So it's all about that. In IT industry, unfortunately, many times it does not happen because you have project target. So the way Suresh said, it's all about project and it's all about your targets and what you're going to deliver. However, in our industry, it is we have targets, yes, but then a lot can happen if you change the way you are as a person. If you change the personality a bit, if you change the communication skills a bit, if you are more empathetic, if you're more soft spoken, I think all these things do make a difference. So you have to set an example for them many a times. You have to actually go ahead and take the bashing at times, but then yes, this is how you have to teach them. You have to be there them, and many times it works. One-on-one coaching works a lot. So you actually have to sit down and make them. What I do is that I sit down with them. I try to hear their perspective first, and then try and put across what is important and what needs to be changed. So we are there to help them out, but then yes, we need to see the change. We will help them out. We will help them out, whether it's professional or personal, whatever requirement is there, we will help them out. But then yes, I have seen a change. I've seen a lot of them mellowing down. It is there.
Sure. Thank you, Ekta. So Rana has a question. Besides enhancing active listening skills, would you suggest any other method by which to teach empathy in organizations?
As I said, one-on-one coaching works a lot. One-on-one works a lot. If you try and teach them these skills in a classroom, their ego might get hurt, right? Okay, you have pointed them out in front of someone else. But if you sit down and try and understand their perspective, have a one-on-one coaching session with them, uh, in that session, then you try and make them understand that, okay, this is the change which is required and you can do it. It is possible, yes. And I'm sure it is possible. I have seen a change, so I know it is possible. Yeah.
So I'm mindful of time, so there are no more questions anyway. So thank you so much to the panelists and thank you so much to everyone else in the room for staying back and watching the entire conversation happening. So we have discussed a couple of interesting points. Let me summarize. So we spoke about gamification and how that helps in engaging people and ensuring that the attrition or dropout rates are reduced, participation levels are higher. So leaderboards and some kind of other methods uh, help. That is what I think Prabhakar said.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence tools are used to assess levels and the tool suggests what kind of programs or exercises would help employees upskill or cross skill. So that's another thing that can help. Pre and post assessments to measure progress and see the transformation, whether the program is really making an impact or not. Suresh also mentioned about industry academia collaboration, which is helping and probably narrowing the gap. We are yet to see whether the impact is there or not, but probably it is narrowing the gap and we are churning out better graduates to the market. Objective always should be taking people from level A to level A plus one or whatever that metric is. Beyond a point, money may not make an impact on people. So offering increments after increments is not the solution. Throwing money at a problem may not help. Rather, upskilling people may bring more joy to at least some section of the employees because they definitely see a ROI in the long run, if not in the short run. Government policies already exist. The only thing is we have to build on it and make best use of it. Education system, as usual, we can do much better, although we are doing great. And soft skills should be introduced right from the school itself, and people should be encouraged, children should be encouraged to speak in public so that can help them later on rather than waiting to become a manager and then realizing that communication skills are lacking and now it's time to run to a coaching class to become better at speaking. So yeah, these are the key points. I'm sure there are many more. Of course, it will take a lot of time to summarize everything.